China is the world's second biggest economy. According to the World Bank, it has a GDP of over $11 trillion and a population of 1.3 billion people, and half of those are online. With such a huge domestic market, why are big technology names like Tencent here?
Cannes is a most reputable stature place, if you like, for those who aspire to excel in the world of innovation, and as well as those who still believe that ideas does matter in such techno-driven world. So we are here to learn, and at the same time we are here also to share whatever latest opinions or point of views that we have with regards to our market, our users, as well as how the evolutions of technology is taking place back home in China.
I'm here to learn and to communicate, and also we are a Nasdaq listed company, so we have actually also our gaming company also listed on the Nasdaq.
I think it's so significant this year. We've seen the rise of Chinese brands over the last few years, and I think this is kind of a pivotal moment. What's going on in the world, a kind of a disrupted world, and I think we're seeing China Day here. Chinese brands are on the rise, and so we're here with one of our clients, Huawei, to talk about some of the lessons they've learned going global.
China's image used to be made in China, but now it's kind of like created in China. So it's kind of a switching, the genres, and you see many high-tech companies here, like Tencent, like Alibaba, like many others, and I think it's because there are many young people working, in those companies, and the way they think about things, it's not just about keeping the discipline, but how to break through something new. And I think this is the right time.
So what's stopping some Chinese companies from expanding overseas and Western companies doing well in China?
I think one of the hardest things is developing cultural bridges between kind of Western agencies and Chinese companies. A lot of these Chinese companies incredibly successful in China, 1.3 billion people as their audience, and have become incredibly successful brands. As soon as they step beyond China, they have to then deal with a whole new set of circumstances, and that's one of the challenges that I think they're facing.
Some things what we need in China, it doesn't mean that the world needs. Sometimes the world needs maybe doesn't work in China. So there's some kind of a culture, barriers we need to break in through.
China has its own cultural, consumer preference, quite a different context. And also, if you add up the level of sophistication on technology, especially mobile technology, it has altogether shaped up China as a very different market.
I think the biggest pitfall for Western companies wanting to work with Chinese brands is not spending the time to understand how to build the cultural bridges. China is an amazing country, 5,000 years of kind of history, heritage, amazing culture, amazing ways of thinking about the world, and it's too easy to kind of carry your cultural baggage with you and apply that to China. You need to basically go with an open mind and actually change the way you work to reflect the way that the Chinese brands want to work.
China has a very different culture, right? And then it's very important for Chinese to learn the world culture, which is fantastic. But in the same time, if you want to create something, you need to have your own identity. You cannot just say, okay, this works, let's do it this way. You need maybe you do this direction, but you need to find the way that has a little bit of DNA of a Chinese gene or something.
So what can we expect in the future?
I think you're going to see interesting coalitions, is how I would describe it. So if you look at JD.com in China and Walmart, that's a very interesting kind of combination of companies. You look at Amazon and Whole Foods just recently. So you're seeing these interesting kind of collaborations, and maybe Amazon should have partnered with a retailer from China. Who knows, in terms of actually sort of almost seamlessly breaking down those barriers.
We're seeing Chinese companies really taking leadership in reshaping, restructuring some of the business thinkings there, as well as pushing their creative ideas beyond China.
The sheer size of the population, where a lot of the Chinese internet companies stay in China to compete because too much stuff on our plates to eat. So globalization is not our top agenda?
We're pretty gung-ho about the future. We will take one step at a time. We would like to believe that whenever there's a need that to be met, and when we can actually do a much better job than the existing incumbent, and I think that's where we are needed. It's not so much that we have a plan that we wanted to go and make this happen and make that happen.
Alibaba is already having #1 e-commerce platform in countries like Southeast Asia, Russia, and we're building our platforms in India aggressively, and some of the European countries we enjoy leadership as well. So we're seeing China as a proof of concept that gets replicated in many important markets in the world.
For us, what it means is not assuming that the way we work with Western brands is the way we should work with Chinese brands. You need to go, you need to embed, you need to understand culturally how Chinese brands want to work, how decisions are made, continuity, the nuances of decision making, and then actually build an agency or build a structure within your agency that reflects that, rather than going in perhaps somewhat arrogantly and saying, this is the way we work, this is the way you work. These are incredibly successful brands, incredibly powerful brands. They know what they're doing. We need to really remember that we need to reflect and be client-centric.
I see the world today as a kind of a synergy world. Basically, your idea we can develop together. So it's not just like China does one thing, America does one thing, or world does one thing. I think in this kind of platform, that when you have a great idea, we can all do together. You put all the greatest ideas and then you invest, together, and which is, the snowball can be much bigger.
Still watching? Perfect. Click here to watch another great video from CNBC International. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching.